We're in West Africa, in Côte d'Ivoire. In the southwest of the country, at the border to Liberia, the Tai National Park stretches out over 4,500 square kilometers. This is the largest remaining reserve of tropical rainforest in West Africa today. In this region, the Wild Chimpanzee Foundation carries out its initial projects to save wild chimpanzees, such as this theatrical play, which incorporates music, dancing, and acting to describe the life of the chimpanzees that live in the forest nearby, but also illustrates the problems arising from the close coexistence of chimpanzees and humans. This play has been a great success in stimulating lively discussions. Already 8,000 people have seen the play, and children are singing the song about our cousins from the forest. People are concerned and are voicing their opinion. The majority want chimpanzees to survive in their vicinity. In the Tai forest, a chimpanzee population exists that show behaviors that are surprisingly similar to those of humans. For more than 20 years, researchers have been observing chimpanzees in their daily life and have discovered astonishing things. For example, about tool use in hunting, about the lifelong bonds between mother and offspring, and about the important role the males play in territory defense and defense against leopards. We could tell stories for hours, and every day we could learn new things about the chimpanzees, and thereby also learn new things about ourselves, because chimpanzees are our closest relatives and the last living link to our own origins. But we and the chimpanzees are running out of time. The chimpanzees are dying out. It takes about 5 years for a chimpanzee group to grow accustomed to human observers. We try to follow them the entire day, from the early morning to the late evening when they build their nest to sleep. Their territory covers about 25 square kilometers, and since all group members don't stay together all of the time, it happens that sometimes we lose contact with them. And because chimpanzees can stay quiet so well, we have to spend the rest of the day searching for them. Fortunately, chimpanzees are like humans, and they don't like to be alone. One way to inform the group that, "Here am I," and "I'm going over there," is achieved by drumming on large buttress trees. This can be heard by other chimpanzees, as well as by lucky human observers, from distances of up to a kilometer. There are also several different long-distance calls. For example, these panthers. For greetings, they use other calls. For example, these grunts. Here the animal coming from the right greets the higher-ranking animal on the left. Very loud and high-pitched alarm calls inform the other animals of the group about something dangerous or suspicious, like this dead duiker that was most probably killed by a leopard. Chimpanzees are famous for the manufacture and use of a large variety of tools. Different populations have different tool repertoires. The chimpanzees of the Tai forest use 26 different kinds of tools, mainly to acquire food. Only half of them are identical to those used by chimpanzees in Tanzania, in East Africa. Sponging refers to the manufacture of a kind of sponge through the chewing of leaves, which allows the chimpanzees to extract and drink water out of tree holes. This behavior is observed in Côte d'Ivoire as well as in Tanzania. These two females have discovered and opened up a nest of driver ants. To avoid being bitten by the furious ants, they don't sit on the ground, but elevate themselves on branches of little trees and stick their fishing rods into the ant nest. The Tai chimpanzees use short sticks that they insert directly into their mouths to eat the ants. On the other hand, in Gombe in Tanzania, the chimpanzees use a long stick. They pull the stick with the ants through the fist of their other hand and then eat the ants out of their fist. Like every tool-using technique, the successful fishing of driver ants requires a lot of training. This young male is already quite skilled, but he still hasn't learned to sit on a branch above the ground and is therefore detected by the ants and bitten. Here we see a female shorten a twig to the suitable length in order to extract the seed out of a nut. The Tai chimpanzees adapt the length of the sticks according to their use. Short sticks are used to extract bone marrow or nuts. Longer ones are for ants, and very long ones are used to extract honey out of beehives. In most cases, the chimpanzees shorten the sticks to the appropriate length before they use them. This indicates that they have a mental image of how an object should look if it is to be a useful tool. And what is even more impressive is that they know which changes are needed to adapt objects to these requirements. Clearly, this is a sign of a very high level of intelligence. The tool use of Tai chimpanzees is famous, especially their use of stone and wooden hammers for cracking nuts. This behavior is found in only a small region of West Africa, despite the fact that the same nut species, and certainly similar stones and wood hammers, are found in all of West and Central Africa. The Tai chimpanzees open 5 different species of nuts, and they use hammers that correspond in weight and hardness to each particular nut species. This female uses a heavy stone as a hammer and a root as anvil to open the hard-shelled nut of Panda oleosa. Stones of this size are rare, as are panda trees in the forest. Therefore, the chimpanzees transport the stone hammers from one tree to the other over long distances. As with the adaptation of sticks to the right length, this stone transport requires a high level of intelligence, comparable to that of a 9-year-old child. Kula nuts, cracked here by the female Duna with a wooden hammer, are the most common nuts in the Tai forest. The chimpanzees feed on them on a daily basis from December to February for about 2.5 hours a day, and in a single day, one chimpanzee can crack about 270 nuts. This corresponds to a rich meal of about 3,400 kilocalories. It is during the Kula nut season that chimpanzees acquire the major part of their caloric intake through tool use, a very extraordinary picture. Here we see Zion, the alpha male of the South group. Chimpanzee males are less efficient at nut cracking than the females. While the mothers crack nuts, the infants stay close by to receive parts of the harvest. This sharing of cracked nuts is crucial for the learning process of the infants, since their motivation to learn this difficult technique would soon disappear without the constant reinforcement by the mother. At the age of about 3 years, chimpanzee infants finally open their first nut. It's a long way to reach this point. First, the infants bite on the nut, or hit it on a root, or with their bare hand, until they finally discover, with the help of their mother, the right combination of nut, hammer, anvil. To master the correct use of the hammer, however, a lot of additional training is necessary. The infants must then face the next problem, their lack of physical force and endurance. But they are determined, and although they don't always have access to the appropriate tools when the whole group is cracking nuts at the same time, sometimes they simply make do with tools that are inappropriate, perhaps too small or too big. This young golden cat was killed by an adult male chimpanzee. All of the group members nearby gathered to sniff and touch the dead body. As with the nut cracking, the infants learn from the adults to understand dangers and to avoid them. The greatest of all dangers, however, is hard to avoid. It is the most deadly and comes from man and his weapons. Fedora was unfortunate to get caught with her hand in a sling trap. She managed to free herself, but the wire cut off the blood circulation and the hand died off. Will she survive? And how will she master her life with such a handicap? How will she climb trees, crack nuts, fight? Here we see Margot, a female of the South group. Margot has always been a shy female who tried to avoid the company of human observers. When her son Mustafa reached the age of 5 years, she started to have regular genital swellings again and became the major focus of interest to all of the males in the group. They were always around her, and it was only then that she started to feel more comfortable with humans in her vicinity. She became pregnant, and we were all very excited when we realized that she had delivered not 1, but 2 babies. In chimpanzees, twins are very rare, even more rare than in humans. We called the 2 girls Miriam and Makeba, and a field assistant started to take data on this exceptional mother-infant relationship. To our great satisfaction, the twins developed very well, and Margot, as well as the twins' older brother Mustafa, took good care of them. Then, in September 2002, just shortly before their 2nd birthday, Margot and the twins Miriam and Makeba were shot by a poacher. We were shocked. Not only because this senseless and brutal elimination of this chimpanzee family meant the end of highly interesting scientific documentation, but as well because the whole chimpanzee group had received a severe blow in their struggle for survival. We had also all felt a close emotional attachment to Margot and her twins. But in general, this is only one example of the brutal extermination movement that great apes face at the moment throughout their natural habitat. Not only chimpanzees, but all wildlife, including elephants, monkeys, duikers, monitor lizards, guinea fowls, and many more species are hunted for their meat. Besides deforestation, hunting has become the most immediate threat to the survival of many endangered species in West and Central Africa. In Côte d'Ivoire, for example, it is forbidden to kill, consume, and trade wild animals. Nevertheless, a study showed that 36 million wild animals weighing 120,000 tons and worth $130 million were killed within 1 year by hunters. Over half of the hunted species are listed under Appendix 1 in the CITES Convention for Endangered Animals. Chimpanzees make up about 3% of the species sold in urban markets and served in village restaurants. To counteract this and other threats, Christophe and Hedwige Boesch and Fabrice Faidherbe initiated the Wild Chimpanzee Foundation in the year 2000. The main objective of the foundation is to assure the protection of 20 to 25,000 chimpanzees and to guarantee their protection through a Pan-African management project. To guarantee the success of this project, it will be necessary to identify and protect key chimpanzee populations, reduce poaching at these sites, and improve human-chimpanzee coexistence, and to ensure that development policies in the target countries incorporate environmental interests. The philosophy of the Wild Chimpanzee Foundation is based on education, research, and conservation, and the involvement of the local human population is of highest importance. One priority of the WCF is to set up biomonitoring programs to identify key chimpanzee populations in the target countries. We further carry out awareness campaigns in villages close to chimpanzee habitats through interactive theater projects that are developed and performed by local companies. We distribute newsletters and give video presentations providing information about chimpanzee behavior and the threats that chimpanzees face. The Foundation also supports ecotourism projects, such as the creation of nature culture centers close to national parks, where local villagers share their knowledge about nature and traditional culture with tourists. We will now see extracts of the play Our Cousins from the Forest that was developed in cooperation with the Ivorian theater company Ymako Teatri.
chimpanzés sont comme les hommes. Je vous en prie, ne les tuons pas. Laissons-les en vie, ce sont nos prochains. Allez, chimpanzés, Dieu a dit chiens et les chimpanzés sont très proches de nous. Comme chez les hommes, on a nos familles. Et ils ont quoi là-bas?
Les chimpanzés ont leur famille.
Chez nous, on éduque nos enfants. Et eux
aussi éduquent leurs enfants.
Chez nous, on pleure nos morts.
Eux aussi, ils pleurent le mort.
Chez nous, on a beaucoup d'outils.
Eux aussi ont des outils.
Les
chimpanzés sont nos cousins.
les
chimpanzés sont nos cousins.
Ils ont des pierres pour casser les noix.
Ils ont des baguettes pour manger les moignons.
Ils ont des massifs pour se défendre.
Ils ont des épaules
Pour boire de l'eau. Ils s'organisent pour chasser le gibier. Et après, ils bataillent la viande. Et dans la forêt, pour s'appeler. Ils jambaient sur les racines. Avec les chevaliers. Ah, écoutez ça là, hein? Les chimpanzés sont nos cousins. Ne les mangez pas.
Les chimpanzés sont nos cousins.
Les chimpanzés sont nos cousins.
By these and other actions, we aim to contribute to the preservation of chimpanzees. Wild chimpanzees have declined by 75% in the last 30 years. Today, there are less than 150,000 animals left. If we want to save chimpanzees from extinction in the near future, we need to take conservation action now. And so, the Wild Chimpanzee Foundation currently works to contribute to the immediate protection of our fascinating closest relative.